How many people's first job was a career? I'm Chris Durham, and today I'm applying for a job at JD Plumbing as a BIM/CAD operator. Basically, what CAD stands for is computer aided design. We take an engineer's 2D prints and we make it a fully constructible and live working model that'll be later used for installation out in the field. I have multiple certifications in the industry standards applications such as Autodesk, or from Autodesk, such as AutoCAD, Navisworks, and Revit, to name a few. This industry has a lot of room for growth and is on a very short demand as far as BIM/CAD operators, specifically plumbing, which is what I specialize in. I feel that I would be a good fit because I have good time management skills, multiple certifications, and I have a couple of years worth of experience in this. Most CAD offices are very short-handed, so the work becomes very overwhelming whenever you get into multiple jobs. Here's my business card. And here's my business card for you.
Thank you, sir. So, welcome to JD Plumbing. How are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well. So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Currently, I am still working for my previous employer, but outside of my typical 9-to-5 job that I currently do, I am also in a mariachi band, and I am still currently in college.
Okay, so we've got quite a bit of stuff going.
Yep, I live a very busy life.
That doesn't seem like it. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or what's your career goals? I mean, you're telling me that you're into music and you're part of a band, and then you're also, having your full-time job. What would it be like in 5 years if you came on board with?
I would hope to still be employed with y'all, as I typically don't like to leave my current place. I typically do not like to leave the place that I am employed at. I feel as if loyalty is something that I feel as if loyalty to a company isn't really something that's very common, especially for someone that makes it past 5 years.
Everybody chasing the almighty dollar instead of
Yep,
having
everyone
a little
hops
bit of
around,
tenure.
maybe stays for 2 years at most, and then they're gone.
Okay. So, you say that you currently do modeling and detailing at your current job.
Yes.
Describe a typical day for me.
Typically, I'll arrive there at around 7. I'll get in. The first thing I'll do is I'll open up the applications if I didn't find a good place to save and stop my work. I'll typically start off by opening up Navis and checking for the current clashes that were given to me from the meetings prior.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go in and I'll make the adjustments as needed. And if there's something that I can't find a way to finagle and move my pieces around, I'll see if there's anything else that one of the other trades is able to do to kind of help better coordinate for everybody.
Okay. So you do a lot with just coordination.
Yes.
Okay. So, what would you say is a couple of your strengths in your position?
One of the strengths that I would say that I would have is with knowing plumbing specifically. We have one of the most difficult. Plumbing is one of the most difficult trades, at least as far as coordination goes, because we have several sets of codes that we have to abide by, and we have to make sure that we comply. Like, just for example, if it's down in Austin, it's entirely different than if it was down here in Fort Worth.
Okay.
So
So you definitely have to know.
You have to know your
what the different cities allow, what you can do and where, and your limitations on all that. What would you say your weakness would be? Just the biggest overall weakness, just one.
I would say currently, my biggest weakness would be not knowing all of the systems, but I know 90% of the systems that we do use on a day-to-day basis. The rest I'm still learning. I am still fairly green to this, but I still have enough to be able to support and stand on my own.
And how long did you say that you were in the business already?
I've been in the business full-time for 2 years, and I have been in total for 2.5 years. I was working half a year as part-time while I was still in high school.
Yeah. Okay, well, it takes 4 years to become a licensed plumber, so you're not bad. You're on your way. Doing pretty good. So, what do you think or how do you think your coworkers would describe you?
I think my coworkers would describe me as hardworking, someone that's able to be teachable, and can listen and be able to conform to the time schedules as needed.
Okay. I was going to say the time schedule, that's a big thing. So we have to be punctual. We have to get this stuff done on time and turned over to the coordinators or whomever else, whatnot. So, how do you say you work under pressure? If you're working on two different jobs that have the same deadline, how do you deal with that?
I would turn around and I would split my workload evenly between the two. So on a 5-day timeline, I would set like Monday, Wednesday, and then half a Thursday for one job, and then I would go and I would tackle the hardest parts first. That way I can turn around and use that as my main focus, and let the kind of lesser stuff like sleeve drawings and shop drawings, I would let that be on the back end, to where I can turn around and focus more of the time on the thing that's going to be needed the most. But I would split the time evenly, or depending upon which one may or may not need a little bit more work, I would kind of split it where I felt needed, in order to make sure that I could hit those timelines.
Okay. So you say that you're currently employed and loyalty is a big thing to you. So why are you looking to leave your current employer?
The work environment is a big one, but between all the stuff that's been happening with COVID, I feel like some of my coworkers aren't really taking it as seriously as needed, and so I'm starting to think it might not be the best fit.
So just a situational scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not anything on the company.
All right. How do you feel about working remotely?
I'm perfectly fine with working remotely.
You don't think it's going to have any impact on your production, or?
I think it would I don't think it would have a negative impact. I think it would have a better impact for the company, because then I'm taking out some of the time that's going to be drive time or whatnot. I'm going to be taking out the drive time, so I would have more time to be able to focus on work, to be able to meet those deadlines.
Okay. So no distractions if you were able to work remotely, say a couple of days a week. Wouldn't be worried about like trying to mow your yard, do your laundry, and all that fun stuff. You'd actually be able to still devote the time to it.
Yes.
Okay. So, tell me about a time that you had to be very strategic in order to meet all your top priorities.
I would say that I currently do that in my day-to-day life with how busy my schedule is. I have to be able to find the time between basically my two jobs, my full-time one at my current employer and then my mariachi band. I have to find the time in order to be able to manage to be able to still squeeze college in.
Okay. And what are you in college for? What do you plan on majoring in?
I'm planning on majoring in, ultimately I want to become a mechanical engineer. Basically it's a couple of steps up from what the BIM/CAD operator does. It's still within the same field, and it is still something that's in demand, but can still be used here at your company.
So you're looking to follow through completely and have a long term with.
Yes.
Okay. And you like plumbing, obviously, I would assume. So, okay. So, tell me about a time you set a goal for yourself. How did you go about ensuring that you would meet that objective?
Like I said, I typically evaluate how much time I have in order to meet that goal, and I set mini timelines. So if I have to model 2 or 3 floors and I only have a week to do it, I'm going to set the heavy presidency on the lowest floors because I can't turn around and build the second floor on top of the first one without the first one being done.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna devote the time there, and I'm gonna make sure it's right as much as I can, and I'm just gonna set mini timelines for myself throughout the day. Like, say I get there at 7, well, by the time I leave for lunch, I want to have at least half of that first floor done with being fully modeled and coordinated around everybody as best as possible.
Okay. So, let's see.
You need to hit all the star ones.
Yes. So, tell me about a time that you failed.
I would say one of the times that I failed was whenever I failed to follow up with a couple of my guys out in the field and or a couple of the engineers. It was mainly I had too many meetings going on that one day. My schedule got a little bit overloaded for the day because we were still having a little bit of coordination issues with that current job, and I just forgot to turn around and email my guys and ask them or follow up with them as far as what prints they needed in order to be able to hit their 4 dates.
Okay. So, a little bit of missed time management. I'm sure, 2 years isn't really a whole lot of time, so I'm sure that that's something that we'll work into. So, what's the longest you've had for an employer? What's the longest you've worked for one person?
The longest that I've worked for one employer is 2 years full time, but 2.5 for
Okay.
in total.
So your current employer has been your only job?
Yes.
Okay. So, and here we use mostly all Autodesk products. What programs do you have experience working in, and do you have any certifications in anything? Or
Whenever I was still in high school, I was in an architecture. I was in a class that mainly focused on the architect's point of view, where I was physically drawing out the building and giving the full interior and exterior dimensions and whatnot. I am certified in Revit because that is mainly what the architects use now, but for the past 2 years I have been mainly working in AutoCAD, specifically AutoCAD MEP.
Okay.
I am certified in AutoCAD and Revit, and I'm currently working towards fully finishing my Navisworks certification.
Okay. So, give me an example of when you've been able to be creative. So you've got a little experience in architectural, you got some experience in plumbing. So give me an example of the creativity side of it.
One thing, there was one job that I was able to be very creative with. It ended up turning and flipping to a design assist job. Basically, the engineer got overwhelmed with their workload as well, and so they basically just gave us starting riser points, and we had to turn around and we had to fully coordinate about 2 or 3 floors. And then so at that point, that's where I had to step in and see what I could do in order to be able to make sure that I was able to run everything to what it is.
Okay. All right. And describe a time when your team or company underwent some change. Being the COVID, you would think that'd be a good.
The main one was whenever COVID first had its big hit, we turned around and we started to experiment with working remotely. And so that was one thing that I would say was a little bit of a fun way to adapt, seeing as we still had to be able to connect to our servers and whatnot in order to access our files.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. More specifically, as far as the Autodesk applications, which ones do y'all use mainly?
We mainly use AutoCAD MEP. We do have some add-on programs, whatnot, that enhances, we can use real-world fittings and so on and so on. But it's mainly Autodesk MEP and Navisworks.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.